All right, man, let's do this thing. We haven't done one of these in a little while.
Yeah, I took a little hiatus, but back on it with the album reviews.
I know. I'm. It's too bad. I was hoping we'd get to Justin Bieber's Christmas album this season, but that might have to wait till next year.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you introduce what we're going to be talking about today?
Well, we're going to revisit my favorite band, the 1975, here with their second album, which has one of my favorite album titles ever, and we can talk about it in a second, what you think. I Like It When You Sleep, For You Are So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It. I'm a fan of the decision to just do an absurdly long name, on purpose. It was intentional to make it super long, especially coming off the heels of a self-titled, which I'm not a really big fan of self-titling albums. It's really refreshing to see them say, I'm going to do a really creative title. One that most people, is really, really rare to do a title this long. What do you think?
Well, I think that even though the 1975 is a pretty mainstream band for the most part, they seem to make some pretty off-the-wall decisions sometimes, and I think that is really good for them. I mean, it makes them really interesting. And I'm sure we'll get more into it once we talk about some of the songs, because I think even some of the songs had some interesting choices, but just making a decision to make your album look, sound, or be a little bit different. It sounds crazy, but most people don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. They never really feel like they don't ever feel compromised in their vision and have to appeal to mainstream pop. They're always doing things that making decisions that aren't necessarily going to make the most popularity for the band or their songs, but is the artistic choice they want to make. And that's one thing I admire, is they're still holding true to that, even nowadays. And anyways, this record, just a little bit of background. This is they went back to the same producer as the first record, and you can tell the similarity in sound is there. This one definitely feels like an evolution of that style, and it really makes the album feel very cohesive. The next two records, they don't come back to this producer; they're self-produced, and they're good at it. But I'm just a really big fan of what they captured here on this record. I think the atmosphere and the sound is really, really unique here, and it's why this is. I'm going to be biased this whole review. This is one of my favorite records, and this is the record that got me into the band, so there's a lot there for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when talking about music, it's impossible not to be biased. Yeah. You can't go into an album review without having some pretty strong opinions already, even having barely listened to it. I only listened to this just recently. This was my first time listening through it, and so but individual preferences really shine through when you are listening to something for the first time, and you notice things that you like and things that you don't like, and it's so strange how different that can be person to person.
Yeah. Well, we can hop straight in here with track number 1, the 1975, which is their the song they repeat each time for the first track here, and I don't have much to say about this because it's the same song we heard last time. It's got a new production. I like the new rendition. I just all of these are really songs you return to.
Mm-hmm. I think that I was reading that the reason they like to do this same one over and over is because it makes it feel like their albums are one big long journey, not just individual things, which they are individual for sure, but they wanted them to kind of go together a little bit, lead into each other, and I think that's one of the decisions that they've made that is so different from any other band I've ever seen. So I really like it, but you're right, it's not all that memorable when you talk. I mean, this has 17 songs, so it's there's others that overshadow it, and for good reason, but I do like that they made it a little more gospel-y, a little more choir-ish. And that's kind of a theme that follows throughout this album.
Yeah, I agree. The way I interpret this track on all the records is like we're the same band, and this is kind of our vision. But here's what this album sounds like. Here's a taste of how we've evolved our style a little bit for this record, and I think it's a really good just kind of introduction to the new style here on this record, which is going
Right.
to go quickly into "Love Me," which is the lead single, I'm pretty sure, and the very first song I ever heard by them and was really really intrigued by, and mostly I'm in love with the guitar they were able to create on that record. Those opening strums are iconic for me. It's not like my personal favorite overall, but I think it's a fun song to jam out to, and it's a really good way to start off an album with a lot of energy. And he's got something to say about celebrity culture, and in the music video, he's like dancing around with a bunch of cardboard cutouts of celebrities and kind of talking about his take, because now he's got a lot of fame coming into this record, and he kind of wants to talk about it a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought "Love Me" was actually one of the best ones. I don't know why they call themselves the 1975, but this song made it. I mean, this song sounds like it could have been straight out of the 70s or 80s. It
Yeah,
really brings back that old style, but with like good production. And that's something that's really coming back.
yeah, it is.
The Weeknd is doing that a lot. It's becoming a lot more popular to make your songs sound old, but with great production. And I mean, this came out in 2016, but if you told me it came out in the 90s, that it wouldn't faze me because it has that really old style to it. But I think that it also shows the evolution of their singer's voice. This song, as well as some of the others, is very versatile with the vocals.
Yeah, I think Matty really comes into his own here on this record, and gets a lot to shine here. And I agree, he just kind of gets to do. He's great at just like yelling some lyrics here on this one, and just bringing a lot of energy to this track.
Mm-hmm.
This one was the first one that hooked you. I'm like, what is this band? I really want to hear more about this, because this is a really interesting song. And well, we can move on to track number 3, which is Ugh, which is a name I love. I think it's really fun to just use. I mean, how often have you seen a name like this?
Yeah, I also like that they put punctuation. It has an exclamation mark,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this song is one of the more unique songs I think they've ever written. It's got a very very distinct sound and style, and the guitar is really interesting. I haven't really heard much like it, um, and it kind of just builds upon a theme about drug abuse, which is something that he talks about in lot of his songs. But this one is a really effective of showing what it's like for someone who can't get past their addiction.
Right. Yeah, this one um, shows what the 1975 is best at, in my opinion. Kind of those upbeat pop songs that are very tight, very well done, and very well structured.
Yeah. Track number 4 is "A Change of Heart," which is a slower kind of introspective song with I think a really memorable and iconic synth line that comes in. That melody kind of sticks. That's what sticks in my head a lot from this record. And a couple of my favorite lines. Everyone loves to quote the took a oh man, I don't even remember it. It's about taking a picture with your salad, put it on the internet after talking about not being well. I think that's a clever line that a lot of people remember.
Yeah, I also like the part where he's saying like, "Oh, you used to have the face that they would put on magazines, and now you just look like any other dude."
Yeah, and
That's such a roast.
and what's fun about this one is he actually is referencing a lot of older songs and history of the band. One line is quote on the road like a twat, and on the road is a I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, it's how he got the name for the band was he found like an old book in a store and someone had written June 1st, 1975 on it, and that book was On the Road, so he's referencing that. And then with that magazine line, that's a reference to Robbers, where she says she had a face straight out of a magazine, and he's kind of saying like how we're evolving from that, and also referencing older works, and that's what kind of makes this song fun, especially for diehard fans. I think this is one that people love.
Mm-hmm. I love when bands reference their old work, old songs, old albums. I think that it shows that they, one, don't take themselves too seriously. They don't think that every song has to be its own thing. Like, they can tie together and it can all be, it doesn't have to be what everyone else wants it to be. And I like that about this.
Yeah, it's a fun way to keep fans engaged through all the different eras and keep them coming back. And I think it's done well here. But track number 5 is She's American, which is another, they're really leading with a bunch of just pop bangers, in my opinion. And this one's just a fun one to jam out to. Talking about, now that they've got this fame, they're going to come tour in America, and he's going to come experience what that's like being British and what people think of you, and experience being here. I think it's just a fun little look into his experience there.
Yeah, it kind of talks about him spending time with this girl and things that she says,
mm-hmm.
and it just makes him think, oh, she's such an American. Like,
yeah.
And that got me thinking about, like, we live in America and we hear about cultural stereotypes from other places, and some about ourselves as well, but it makes you think, what are the people on the other side of the pond saying about us, and I guess it's a little bit in this song.
Yeah, no, I agree. Track number 6 is If I Believe You, which is gonna slow it way down here for a gospel inspired look into his relationship with religion growing up, and his feelings. This is one of those songs where you just kind of get a singer talking about their experiences, which a lot of people, it helps you really connect with the person singing. I think it's what makes some lead vocalists really, really endearing to people.
Mm-hmm. I really like being able to listen to other people's experiences, especially with things like religion, because even though everyone has a different experience with it, like it's all valid experience, and if one person has a bad experience with religion and you can kind of hear about, I don't think it has to, you don't have to take offense to it. You can kind of understand that that's been their experience, and you want everyone to feel included and understood, and that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, this is a song that's you're either gonna connect well with the message and your experience, or you're not gonna connect. But I agree. If you're not connecting with it, it is a great way to look at that and say, well, this is someone else's experience, and that's valid, and I hope that's how people do listen to the song. If this isn't the message they connect with, but I think it's good for a singer to take a chance on saying, this is my experience, and I hope that for people that it will connect with, that it's meaningful to them and will really help them. And that can be the power of music like this. And I really like it when they take those chances. But track number 7, we're gonna head into the instrumental little phase, I call it, with Please Be Naked, which is purely instrumental. And I don't have much more to say than I really like the piano notes are the production is really, really good, and the melody is great, and can really get you thinking. But it's an instrumental, and there's not much more to say other than I think it sounds great. And if you're going through an album listen, I think it has a good place on the record as an instrumental.
Yeah, instrumentals are great if you are interested in really going through the entire album from start to finish.
Yeah.
I think that they give it room to breathe. But other than that, if you're just kind of going, if you're skipping through and go to your favorite songs, it's not as memorable and probably skipped a lot. But
Yeah.
I think that they really are going for a complete experience here.
Yeah, they are. And I remember my first time put on this record myself, I just hit shuffle. And this is the first one that came on. I'm like, what is this? I thought this was a pop band. And I was very confused. But luckily, I skipped around and found some songs that really convinced me to stick around. But the next track is Lost My Head, which is mostly instrumental the way I see it. It's mostly those heavy guitars and the synth sound really, really good. And it's got some lyrics, which is a reference to, this is kind of a motif that the band has about losing my head. They even talk about it a little on the next song and on some other records. And it's just kind of, I think it's a fun song to be introspective and emotional too. It's one I would come back to if I need to just like get into my feels on this record.
Yeah, I don't remember much about Lost My Head because, like I said, I only listened to it about once all the way through. But I do remember that Please Be Naked and Lost My Head really flow into each other well.
Yeah. And my favorite part of the song, I really like the way the drums are arranged. I love the building effect. I like when a song really crescendos, and I think this song does it well. And the way the beat makes it really builds and reaches a peak and then just slowly simmers down. And it's a great way to write an emotional song like this. Track number 9 is... It's a fun song to me. I love the concept. I love the frantic synth and choir singing in the background to this really fun premise. This story about losing my brain and going around trying to find it, and someone's like, oh, my daughter listens to you. I think your music's crap, but can you sign this for me? And I just, that is a really funny concept to me.
That is funny, and it's also probably happened plenty of times.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I like this one. I like the overall concept of having like a gospel style feel.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I don't like the sound of gospel music
me either.
usually, but I like it when it's incorporated in other styles of music a lot.
Yeah, and that's something they return to on actually all their next records. I think he found he really did like working with that and introducing that gospel choir into his songs. The next track I think is probably their most famous song. I don't actually haven't looked at the numbers on that, but this one is to me probably the highlight on this record. Somebody Else. Had you heard this song before, or was this your first time?
I've heard it before on the radio, but I didn't know it was the 1975. But you're right, it is their most streamed song by like a lot.
Yeah.
Like their other ones have like 100 million streams. That one has 500 million.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. This one is just so immediately catchy, and the lyrics are so like everybody loves a song about this feeling of a relationship that didn't work, and that jealousy and that sad feeling. Like that's people really want to hear songs about that. There's so many songs about this concept, but I think this one's a really well done version, and I think the production on this song especially is insane to me. This is one of the best sounding songs of the style I've ever heard. The synth and the guitar, it just sounds really, really good, and I've always been impressed by the songs. This is a song that when I put on this record first time, I heard this and I was like, I want to keep listening to this band. This is the one that still, kept me around.
Yeah, it definitely shows that they've honed in their craft. it's reminiscent of their more popular songs on the last album, and it kind of does all the things that they do, and does it better.
Yeah, no, I agree. This one is a great one. I'll come back to for a long time. Track number 11 is "Loving Someone," which is, sometimes they veer a little more into social movements and politics, especially on the next record. This one kind of references that. It's this one is one of the more popular songs, I think, especially live. People went crazy for this song, and I like it. It doesn't resonate, as much. It's not my experience as much, but I definitely appreciate the message and love it. And I'll always leave it on when I'm going through the record, and I like what it's trying to say.
Yeah, this one has that that vocal melody that's kind of in the background, done by a woman, right?
Believe so.
I remember
made it, but
it might not have been a woman. I mean, you can pitch your voice to sound like whatever you want, but I remember liking that vocal melody that plays through the chorus.
Yeah, I agree. Track number 12 is another instrumental. I Like It When You Sleep, which is the title track here. I think it's a good instrumental. I think I prefer the more slow, introspective ones because that one allows for you to kind of fill in the blanks, and this one just kind of you thump along to a beat. But I think this is probably the one I've listened to the least on here, just because of that. But I think it's well made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that real quick I'll explain title tracks because maybe not everyone has heard of that phrase before, but it's basically, it is what it says it is. It's the track that the entire album is named after, and a lot of times that'll be because the artist feels that sound or that song really encapsulates what they're trying to say and what they're trying to do with this record. Not all the time, but sometimes, and this one, it's hard to say what was named first. It's kind of like the chicken or the egg, the song or the album. But I like to think that bands take their time and make their songs and then name the album.
Yeah, I actually never really thought about which one came first. I always assumed album because that's how I was introduced to the album first. But I agree. I think it's better artistically to make the songs you want to make without being confined to a title of the album, and let that title come naturally is the best, in my opinion. But track number 13 is "The Sound," which is one of, if not my personal favorite song of theirs. I think this song is super well written and fun, and that guitar solo goes really hard.
Yeah, I've definitely heard this one before, probably on the radio or something. But I like the meaning of the song. I like it kind of makes you feel like, it's about that person that you've been with for so long that you feel like you know everything about them. You feel like, they walk in the room and that they're there just because their presence is there. And, I've only been with my wife for about a year and a half, but it starts to feel that way, and you've been with your girlfriend for a long time, like 5 or 6 years, and so I'm sure that you feel that too.
Yeah, this is a great song, and one of the more popular songs. It's pretty impactful for the band, I feel. Track number 14 is where you start to go into the wind down, end of the album phase here. For me, this must be my dream, which is a fun synth and guitar romp. This one's really fun to listen to. It's I don't really remember the lyrics on this one as much, which is why I don't remember it as well. But I'll always like to jam out to the main chorus because it's got a good chorus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this kind of shows the turning point of the album. You're right, where it's about to wind down, and you really see that through the next few songs here.
Yeah, track number 15 is "Paris," which is a a fan favorite, as in like I think people who really like the band like this one because it's another one where he just kind of rambles and there's not really like a dedicated chorus and structure, and he just gets to kind of say some really clever lines, and I think for that reason it's fun when you really like the band. The song is a good one, and I think it gets better as you get more and more into the band. Even though if it's your first introduction to the band, you might be a little underwhelmed because it's not as catchy as some of the stuff they've done before. But that's kind of been my opinion on this track.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the more interesting ones on the album, actually. I mean, it's definitely, it doesn't have that like strong pop feel that some of the others have, which make them more popular, more radio friendly, but I think that it's still a really solid song and deserves to be well played.
Yeah. Number 16 is Nana, which is one of the saddest songs they've ever written for me. This one is like the super sad emotional powerhouse about losing a loved one, a relative, and just kind of his feelings and thoughts on it. I think those last few lines about I write this song to try and make myself feel better, but even the crowd's cheering isn't actually going to help because you're gone, and I'm not doing well about it. It's kind of it just kind of ends on that devastating note. I think it's really effective for what this song's trying to portray.
It is effective, and I mean, it's so effective that I was able to connect with it, even though I haven't had a lot of experience losing people close to me. So I think that it does what it does well, and it's one of the best examples of conveying emotion through a song on the album. Yeah,
I agree. We go into the last track here, which is She Lays Down, which is another acoustic. This one's a little more, even less produced. It's more of just the guitar and his voice. I like the style of making it sound like he kind of just did it in one take from a microphone that wasn't very close to him in a echoey room.
I think he did.
Did he really? I felt like there's no way he could have done that because it's so well done. I'm just assuming, he had to have done multiple takes, but it does sound so much like that.
I'm sure that he did multiple takes, but I think that the song as it is one take. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, they're definitely talented enough and capable of doing that. And in there is like a music video for it, and they do it in one take, and clearly you can. But yeah, I mean this.
Yeah, I think at the end of it you can hear him kind of say like to someone in the room, like, I think that was the one. Like as in, I think I just played it perfectly, and that was probably the one that we can use.
No, you must be right, because you're right, and I love that little note. It's always fun to get kind of a peek behind the curtain, kind of someone talking on the track. I think it's really well done, especially on a song of this style. These are probably the lyrics of theirs I understand the least, and mostly because I haven't looked that much into it. But it's a good acoustic closer, and the writing's really really well done.
Yeah, I love acoustic closers.
Yeah,
I think that I used to not really love it. I used to think like, no, the last song has got to be like huge and dramatic and loud. And now I kind of really like those soft ones. I mean, the new Billie Eilish album ended with a super sad acoustic one, and I thought it was perfect. And so I think that more people are starting to realize that it's a great way to close everything down.
Yeah, I think it was. I think this album is really well ordered. I think they did a really good job picking the flow of this record, and it's what makes it feel very intentional and cohesive. I think the production is. I love the way they've made these synths feel cohesive in a really talented way, and this record will stick with me for a long time. And it's anyway, we're gonna just hop into closing thoughts here, and this one's a tough one for me to rate because I feel so Just it like this one's so memorable to me because this is what got me into the band, and it just got a special place there. But I think it's super solid. I'll give it a 9.5.
Yeah, I think I gave their first album a 6, I believe, and I think I said I gave it that because it was above average, but not better than that. This one was a step forward. This one,
Yeah, I think it is.
It did the same things that the last one did, but it did it better. It did it more powerfully. It's got more. It's more consistent, I'd say. Not as many songs that I would say aren't very interesting. And so I'd say that even though I probably won't listen to this very much again because it's just not really my thing, I think I'd still have to give it an 8 because it's all there. It's very cohesive, and I think that it's 17 tracks. It's hard to make 17 tracks flow together. Most people that would fall apart, but it doesn't here.
Yeah, I agree. I think we came to a good consensus on this. I think all of these songs to me, there's no like huge glaring weak link on this record, and that's honestly, the more I've listened to albums, that's actually tough to do. I almost always find a song I'm like, oh, maybe not this one, but yeah, I mean this I love this record. It's got a lot of memories for me, and I know this one, for people who are big fans of 1975, this one's huge, and was a big step forward for the band, taking them from like a kind of indie punk alternative style into a mainstream band here, and I'm sure we'll talk about the rest of the records coming up and all the changes that brings, but yeah, I mean that's it for this week.
Yep. Thanks for watching. We hope you'll stick around, subscribe, and we'll see you hopefully next week with another review. Thank you.